It's 2025 and making videos has been my full-time job for a few years now. I make short films, branded content, YouTube sponsorships, freelance videography, talks and workshops. And no, I don't have hundreds of thousands of followers, but I'm able to work with brands like Sony, Samsung, Rode, Artlist and more. 4 years ago, I moved from a village of 700 people in Slovenia to London with literally no plan. No degree, just a camera, some savings, and a big dream to turn filmmaking into a full-time job. This isn't some viral success story, it's the honest version, about the mistakes I've made, the lessons I've learned, the 40-pound jobs, and the people who helped me along the way. So, if you're creative, trying to figure it out too, I hope this gives you something, whether it's inspiration, direction, or just a little reminder to pursue what makes you happy. But before we get into all of that, let me take you back. I was about 13 when I first started getting into photography, just shooting on my phone and trying to have an aesthetic Instagram feed. Around the same time, I was going to this after-school photography class twice a month. It wasn't anything serious, but it was the first time I got to hold a proper camera. Now, I was very lucky my mom supported my creative journey, and in 2015 she got me a Canon 70D. My best friend Pika loved being in front of the lens, and I loved being behind it, so we'd spend all our free time creating. And as you do, people started to know me as the photo and video person. And so I started getting some jobs here and there, did a bunch of spec ads, and just things I found joy in. And over the years, I've built a decent portfolio. Portraits, sports, fashion, concerts. But figuring out how to make a living from it, that was a whole different story. I was charging 20 to 100 euros per job, and even that felt like too much for some people. So sometimes it'd just be easier to skip the money talk completely and do it for free. Yeah, not exactly the most sustainable business model. So when I finished high school at 18, I knew deep down that university just wasn't for me.
Where do I want to be next year, in 5 years? Čez 2 tedna se selim v London. Sem 100% da bom tam imela milijon več možnosti in pridobila nove izkušnje, spoznala nove ljudi, ful bi rada potovala in delala polane videe.
Around the same time, my best friend moved to London with her sister, and to be fair, I wanted to move there too. I love the idea of giving my career a proper go and just taking the chance to see what would happen. Okay, for some reason I had this idea in my head that things would take off quickly. I'd land in London and the opportunities would just come to me. But obviously that's not really how it works, and that's why having savings at least 6 months in advance is so important. Because to start making money, it's gonna take time. So with that in mind, my first freelance job was through Upwork. I tried making an account twice and got rejected both times, so I ended up combining my portfolio with my best friends to make a stronger profile, and that finally got accepted. And my first freelance job was a proposal shoot for £40. To be honest, I didn't want to take it. My ego said no, but you have to start somewhere, and looking back, I'm glad I did it. However, since it was lockdown and with the help of my good friend Leah, I started applying for jobs.
Applyala sem za en job na Lisjaku in srčno upam, da ga dobim, ker je res full cool job. Samo da sem posnet, ker dobesedno sem presrana. Tako prono. Fuck.
And somehow, on my 4th try, I landed a full-time video editor role. 100 euros a day, steady income, security, not bad for 19.
Stay on full-time job as a video editor at Lisjak.
But deep down, I knew something had to change, and that was my mindset and my approach. Because if I wanted to freelance, I needed to network, and your network is your net worth. So at my job, I started staying longer on calls and making connections. And one of them was my now manager Aaron, who over time became a mentor and eventually got me jobs with Gymshark and Formula Electric. And all it took was that one genuine connection. But after 5 months, I quit to go all in on freelancing. But this time I was a better editor, had some connections and some decent freelance experience. When I moved to London, I didn't know any creatives. Funnily enough, I met my now boyfriend Gareth on TikTok 2 weeks before moving, and he was part of something called UK Shooters. So I threw myself into the deep end and went to one of their events, where creators connect, shoot and vibe. Suddenly, I was surrounded by people who shared the same interest as me. Back in Slovenia, nothing like this existed, and now I was right in the middle of it. At the time, I was picking up small freelance jobs, mostly all through the people I'd met and known. But then came one big moment. I applied to be Ali Abdal's videographer. And out of 200 applicants, I made it to the final 5.
We have good news. I'm excited to let you know that you stood out as an exceptional applicant, and we would love to get to know you more via video interview.
And so I went to Manchester with him, did the trial, and didn't get it. But honestly, I was kind of relieved. It was the clarity I needed that full-time wasn't for me. Freelancing was. Overall, the memory I have of that whole period in my life was constantly thinking about money.
Moram reči samo to, da jaz sem trenutno broke. Govorimo tipo, imam Jurija na banki. Za življenje v Londonu enostavno ni dosti. To je za reči, to je malo več kot ena moja najemnina.
It was like I knew I was getting somewhere, didn't really know where exactly it was gonna take me, but putting myself out there was what I had in control and what I was able to do. And I saw that slowly things would come to me, but I just needed to put in that work and needed to put myself forward. So that is like a big takeaway from that whole chapter in my life. And even though an opportunity may not happen the next day or in the next month or in the next year, something will always come out of it. And the more I surrounded myself with creatives, the more I saw what was possible. And even though I wasn't there yet, I knew I could be. Eventually. And that was what I needed. Let me tell you, being surrounded by friends, working with global brands, that was inspiring. And so I thought, why not try it out myself as well? And just like that, my content creation journey began. And for me, that meant one thing: Reels. I experimented a lot. Photo reels, tips and tricks, storytelling edits, fast-paced cinematics, you name it. But somewhere along the way, I started finding my own style. Around that time, I got more involved with UK shooters and eventually became part of the team making recap videos. Slowly but surely, small brand projects started to roll in. Some paid, some in exchange for products, but it all felt exciting. I was getting a feel of what it was like to actually work with brands. But the weight of what was happening in my personal life started to become pretty hard to ignore. I always thought the day I moved to London would be one to remember. But not like this. Exactly a year later, my mom told me she had cancer and that it had already spread. She hadn't been feeling well for a while, and finally knowing why brought clarity, but it didn't make things any easier. We spoke every day, and throughout her journey, I truly admired how she chose to face it, with positivity and a completely new outlook on life. Eventually, I returned to Slovenia, and things got worse. And 9 months after we first found out, I had to face the truth.
Tukaj pač jasno treba povedati, da ja, pogovarjamo se počasi tudi o koncu življenja.
If you've ever gone through something like this, you'll know. Watching someone you love slowly fade away can be even harder than losing them. But on the day of her funeral, I made myself a promise. I have this one wish that I can do this speech because, like, literally, if I can do this speech, I can do anything.
Pokazala mi je, da imamo dve roki. Z eno pomagaš sebi, z drugo pa so ljudje. In da včasih ni pomembno, kaj vse narediš v življenju, ampak bolj to, kako se ljudje počutijo ob tebi.
Losing my mom really showed me how unpredictable life can be and just how quickly everything can change. Somehow, I found comfort in knowing she supported what I did and that she was proud of me for moving to London to chase my dreams. And that gave me strength to keep pursuing what makes me happy, and just how lucky I was to have had a mom like her. See, sometimes the right people come into your life exactly when you need them most. Just 10 days after my mom's passing, I met Georgia, who happened to be traveling in Slovenia at the time. She invited me to a Friendsgiving gathering in LA, and to be fair, at that time, it almost felt like I was starting life over, so I said yes. And while I was there, I met so many incredible creators, and the whole experience left me feeling inspired in ways I hadn't felt for a long time. So in the months after, I kept creating, and then I was presented with the biggest opportunity yet. My first ever project with Sony. It came through a recommendation of my friend Mike and founder of UK Shooters, whose YouTube videos I happened to be editing at the time. It felt like things were clicking into place. Sony loved the film, and suddenly one project turned into 3. Making horizontal videos felt a bit overwhelming at first, but it pushed me to improve my storytelling, and that's the kind of content I started sharing online. So for the first time, I made one rule for myself: make things you're passionate about. Don't chase trends, don't chase the algorithms, just the kind of work I want to be hired for. So in the summer of 2023, I started sharing videos all about filmmaking. Social media is full of tutorials, so I tried to make mine stand out. Filming outside, experimenting with fonts, colors, and locations. Then one reel called Cinematic Breakdown took off. And by took off, I don't mean millions of views, but it hit over 100k, which was huge for me. However, I was intentional with that post. I tagged all the brands I featured in the video, just in case someone saw it. And that's how I got noticed by the sponsor of today's video, Artlist. They saw the video, reposted it on all their socials, and with that and the reel gaining traction on my own page, I went from 4,000 to 10,000 followers in just a week. So with Artlist, I took my shot. I sent them a message, and a few days later, someone from their team reached out, and that led to our first phone call. So with the support of my friends Keenan, Oscar, and Gareth, we went all out with this project. And Artlist loved it. So what can you take away from this? Brands are much more likely to work with someone who's already passionate about their product or service than trying to convince someone to use them. So if there's a brand you love, find a way to naturally incorporate them into your content. And if you want them to notice you, tag them, because you're already one step ahead of someone who doesn't. So treat your social media like a portfolio. Show brands what you can do for them, and when the time is right, they might just reach out and hire you to do exactly that. But here's the thing, Artlist isn't just a brand I work with. When I think of Artlist, I think of a company that gave me an opportunity I used to only dream about. They've supported me consistently and in many ways helped me grow as a filmmaker. Because that's what Artlist is all about, empowering creators with the best tools to bring our ideas to life. And speaking of tools, I wanted to tell you about their new AI photo and video generator. Now, I can draw, but this tool makes it easy to visualize shots, create storyboards for clients, and even turn AI-generated photos into realistic-looking videos. I mean, it's insane. You can pick from a bunch of styles, and it's perfect for speeding up your creative process. Their platform has everything from music, sound effects, AI voiceovers, stock footage, LUTs, and more. So if you want to check them out, by clicking the link in my bio, you can get 2 months free on top of your yearly plan. Becoming a full-time content creator, although I still prefer to call myself a filmmaker, opened doors I never really planned for. I spent the first few years mostly in London and eventually moved into a new flat that for the first time since moving here really felt like home. But in 2024, it was time to switch things up. I'd always wanted to travel more, and working with brands consistently gave me the opportunity to take on projects around the world, while also giving me the freedom to take time off and just enjoy myself. And at some point, I realized I just had a 10k month doing what I love. And you think a number like that would feel like a big moment, but somehow it didn't, because it didn't happen overnight. It was the result of 9 years of hard work. And over time, just by making videos, new doors started to open. I've been given opportunities to do talks and workshops, and on my 23rd birthday, I was invited to speak in front of 400 students back home in Slovenia. Now that was a full circle moment. But throughout all of this, I realized one of the most valuable things you can build in this industry is trust. And trust is built over time through genuine connections and friendships. And some of the biggest opportunities, like becoming a Samsung ambassador, wouldn't have happened without the people who believed in me and recommended me. This past year taught me a lot about who I am and the kind of work I want to create. But more than anything, I started approaching everything with more intention. And one of the projects that really captured that for me was Reflections, a short film I made in collaboration with Sony. It was deeply personal, both because of the story and because it was about my close friend Leah, who's been supporting me since the very beginning. And projects like this really reminded me of why I do what I do. They're not just about the views or brand deals, they're about telling stories that matter. But if I can leave you with something, is this: your portfolio matters, but you matter more. Being good at what you do is really important, but being easy to work with, reliable, and trustworthy often matters just as much, if not more. And the truth is, at the beginning, you'll have to do some unpaid or sometimes even underpaid work. You can't really skip those early steps, and even if you feel like you're not where you want to be at, all those little things will add up, and before you know it, it will all make sense.
Yeah, and I want to make myself proud, you know. It's not even anyone here that I'm trying to make proud, it's just me. It's just a matter of time, you know. And so, yeah, that's it.